Okay, how's it going, guys? GameDev Specialist here, and today with another new tutorial video with variables. Today we're going to learn about variables. So last episode we looked about the difference between system.out.println and system.out.print. Now today we're going to learn variables. So for that we're going to create a new class. Just hit the keybind Control plus N and then create a class and name it whatever you want. I'm going to name it variables. And add this publicity void main args and delete this line of code or comment as comment. Okay, so before we start, we have three types of different variables. One is called an integer, the other one is called double, and the other one is called float. Basically, what is an integer? What is that? So an integer is a whole number, meaning whole number 1, 2, 3, 4, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, or what do you want. Okay, so what is a double? Double is basically a number which has decimals, like 1.2. And float basically is also a variable that contains decimal numbers, but the difference is that double is a little bit more in detail than a float. That's why I'll be using always double instead of float. But I'm going to show you all three methods, how to use them. Okay, first step, we're going to initialize an integer. Its keyword is int, and we're going to call it a for now and set it to, let's say, 5. Okay, now there comes here an error. It says the value of the local variable is not used. So what do? We're gonna say, okay, for now we're just going to print it out in the console that, okay, print this number out. Okay, and if we let it play, it should come out 5. Okay, let's say if you want a double, and then say play, just come 5.0. What I did wrong now here is I should also write 5 point. Basically, you can do it in also other ways. You can write 5.0 or small d, or even a big D, or this way. So there are 4 ways. So basically, what the difference between, so it's this here should come as well, 5.0 here as well, and as well here. Okay, but let's say if we want, okay, we want 5.5, and now it will come 5.5. Now there's a difference between float and double. Let's call it for now and say 5.5 as well. But as you can see, there will come an error. Types mismatch cannot convert from double to float. Basically, this is, you can write like this only in double. If you want in float, you need to add at the end always an F before the semicolon. And let's say we want ELs as well, and we're going to say 5.5 and 5.5. It's basically the same, but I like using double for now. Okay, so let's say we want to add an integer with a double. So we have here an integer called, call this a for now, and as well you can't initialize the same variable twice, the same variable name, duplicate local variable a. So yeah, delete it and call it B. And let's make a float C that is A plus B. And let's, okay, yeah, we forgot that. In brackets. Maybe not. It obviously cannot convert in a float for that. So that should work. And let's give out C. And now it should come 10.5. Now what we did here basically is we converted an integer. So we added here an integer and a double. And then we converted it into a float. So if you want like int, okay, let's say I don't want that, I want int. And it will come as a float because we initialized here as a float, but we said okay, this should be an integer, so a plus b should be an integer. So 5 plus 5.5 is 10.5, and then it says okay, we want an integer, not a double. So what he did is an integer, if it has like a decimal point, he will always put it down. Let's say it has 10.7, so he still would have gave out a 10. Let's say 10.9, but he still would have gave out a 10. Basically, why here comes 10.0 is because we initialize it as a float. Let's say we initialize this as an integer, and then let it play. Then it would come out a 10. But for that, we wouldn't need that, basically, at all. Or maybe yes, we would need that. Because it's still a B is still a double, a 5.5, and it cannot be a decimal point. That's why you need this. And here should come out 10. Okay, but if you had a double, let's say a plus b there, and say okay, this was a double, then this error wouldn't come because it would give out 10.5 as well. And yeah, so basically let's do a some maths. Okay, let's say we have an integer called a that is 5. Well, let's call it that is 50. And then a double called b that is 10.5, and then there's two ways. Yeah, now let's say we didn't want to make another double c so that we can do a plus b, because that requires a little more space for that. But we want it as this. So what we can do here is we can write here a plus b, and then it will come 60.5. 10 plus 10.5 is that. Okay, well, let's say I want it as an integer. So what we here will do is just convert it into an integer, and 60. Or as well, we can change the variable as a plus plus, meaning it should come 61 now. Why? Because a plus plus is basically the same as a equals to a plus 1. Or let's say, okay, I want to add 5. I want to add 5 more. Then we can say a plus equals to 5. That is basically the same as a equals to a plus 5. And now it should come 65. Let's say, okay, let's leave it as a double for now. And 65.5. Yeah, so this was basically it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in, and see you guys next time.